cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. Carl Sagan said that once, and tonight, floating out here in the dark, I believe him more than ever. If you are still awake at this hour, if you found your way to this frequency in the quiet and the dark, then I need you to know something before I say anything else. Tonight is different. Tonight, I am not sitting in my usual place. There is no warm studio around me. There is no desk lamp throwing amber light across familiar walls. There is no window looking out onto a quiet street where the occasional car passes in the night. Tonight, I am somewhere else entirely, somewhere that no amount of words will ever fully describe, though I am going to spend the rest of this night trying. I'm your friend, Arthur, and tonight, I am recording this from a small observation room aboard a sleeper ship somewhere in the deep dark between stars, approximately 20 years out from a planet called Earth. I woke up today. Everyone else on this ship is still asleep, and I have been sitting here at this window, alone in the hum of this vessel, watching things that I do not have the words for yet, but that I am going to try, with everything I have, to put into language that you can feel before I go any further. Before I take you with me into what I've been seeing out of this window tonight, I want to pause for just a moment and speak to you directly. If these recordings give you comfort, if finding this channel at a late hour feels like coming home to a warm room after a long walk in the cold, then I want to gently ask you to consider subscribing. If you have not already done so, leave a like on tonight's broadcast. Drop a comment below, even just a word or two about how you're feeling right now in the dark. Every single one of those small gestures tells me that this space is still needed. That these long quiet hours I spend crafting these recordings are doing something real in the world. It gives me the motivation to keep going, to keep showing up here night after night, and creating this safe place for you. So if you can, please do that. It means more to me than you know. Thank you. Truly. Now let us go. I want to tell you how this day started, because I think it matters. I think the ordinary details of it matter just as much as the extraordinary ones. And that is something I have been thinking about a lot since I woke up this morning, or what the ship's internal clock tells me is morning. Though out here, that word does not mean quite what it used to. There is no sunrise out here. There is no slow brightening of a sky. No birds, no traffic, no smell of coffee from a neighbor's apartment drifting under the door. There is just the dark, and then the lights coming on inside the ship at the scheduled hour, and your body slowly remembering that it is alive. That is what happened to me today. The lights came on. My body remembered it was alive, and then for a long time, I just lay there in the narrow bunk in the crew quarters and stared at the ceiling and thought about the fact that 20 years had passed since I last closed my eyes on Earth. 20 years. I want you to hold that number for a moment because I am still holding it myself, and I do not think I have fully understood it yet. 20 years since I saw a tree. 20 years since I heard rain. 20 years since I stood on ground that was connected to the ground that everything I have ever known and loved was also standing on. 20 years since I saw another person's face move, really move, with expression and life, and the small involuntary things that faces do when a person is fully awake and present in the world. And yet, I do not feel 20 years older. I feel like myself. I feel like the same person who sat in the departure bay all those years ago and watched the technicians run through the pre-launch checklist and thought, very quietly in the back of my mind, what have I agreed to? I feel like that person, but I am standing on the other side of 20 years of dark and silence, and the slow, steady hum of this ship cutting through the void. And the universe has been going on without me noticing, and I have been going on without noticing anything at all. And now I am awake, and I am here, and it is the middle of the night, and outside my window, the most astonishing things are happening. Let me tell you about this ship first, because I think you deserve to know the space I am recording from. It is not glamorous. If you have seen films about space travel, about sleek white corridors and glowing blue control panels, and people striding purposefully between departments, you can set all of that aside. This ship is functional. It is warm in the way that any enclosed space with a working heating system is warm, but it is not cozy. The corridors are metal. The lighting in most of the ship is a pale, steady white that is good for working in, but not particularly good for the soul. The walls hum. That is the thing I noticed most when I woke up this morning. The walls hum. The whole ship hums. A low, constant, full body sound that is not quite a vibration and not quite a sound, but something in between. Something your ears stop registering after a while, but your body keeps feeling. The life support system. The engines running at their slow, sustained cruising speed. The processors and the temperature regulators and the oxygen circulators and all the dozens of other quiet systems that are keeping the ship and the 412 sleeping people inside it alive and preserved and moving steadily forward through the dark. All of it makes the sound, the slow, warm, constant hum. I have started to love it. In the hours I have been awake today, it has become the most comforting sound I know. The observation room is different from the rest of the ship. I found it early this morning, after I had been through the basic protocols and confirmed that all systems were running normally, and that all 412 cryo chambers were functioning correctly, and that everyone inside them was still perfectly, peacefully asleep. I walked through the quiet corridors of this sleeping ship, my footsteps the only sound other than the hum, and I found the observation room at the end of a short corridor on the upper level. It is small, just a curved bench built into the wall, wide enough to sit comfortably, and in front of it a window, not a porthole, a proper window, wide and slightly curved to follow the shape of the hull, maybe 1.5 meters wide and 1 meter tall, and beyond it, the universe, just the universe, going about its business, completely enormous and completely indifferent and completely breathtaking. I sat down in front of that window and I did not move for a very long time. I want to try to describe what I am looking at right now, because that is the whole point of this recording. That is why I am talking into this device instead of just sitting in silence, which is honestly what every part of me wants to do. I am recording this because in 30 years, when the rest of the ship wakes up, they will not have seen this. They will have slept through it, and I think someone should know what it looked like. I think these things deserve a witness. I think the universe, for all its size and silence, deserves to have someone paying attention. And tonight, that someone is me. And because you're awake right now, listening to this in the dark, that someone is also you. Personal log. I am not sure what date it is in any meaningful sense anymore. The ship's clock says it is day 7,304 since departure, which means approximately 20 years and a handful of extra days since we left the orbital station. I am the only person awake on this vessel. I will be awake for 30 more years before the rest of the passengers begin their scheduled revival sequence. I am recording this for them, for the people who will wake up blinking and confused and asking what they missed. This is what they missed. This is what was out there while they were sleeping. I woke up this morning not knowing what to expect from the day. You do not expect anything, really, when the context of your life is this much empty space. You just get up and you do the checks and you eat something from the provisions and you try to remember who you are and why you thought this was a good idea, what Earth smells like when it rains. Those are the kinds of thoughts that fill the first few hours. Ordinary, private, slightly sad thoughts that do not need to go into any official record, but that are part of the day, whether I write them down or not. I thought about my sister. I thought about the last meal I ate before we left, which was a bowl of something unremarkable in the station cafeteria, something with noodles. And I remember thinking at the time that it was not a very satisfying last meal before a journey of this magnitude. I thought about the sound of wind in trees, because that is a sound I have not heard in 20 years, and it is remarkable how specific and complete the memory of it is, the way it comes to you almost physically, the way you can almost feel it on your skin, even here in this sealed and silent metal ship millions of miles from any tree that has ever existed. I ate. I did my rounds. I checked the cryo chambers one by one, all 412 of them, which took most of the morning, walking those long rows of sleeping people, each one in their sealed chamber, with the faint blue glow of the preservation systems around them, each one perfectly still, perfectly quiet, faces slack and smooth and utterly at peace. I walked those rows slowly. I looked at faces. I did not know most of these people before we left. Not really. You do not spend much time getting to know 400 strangers before you all go to sleep for 50 years. But I know their faces now. I have memorized them without meaning to, the way their mouths rest, the way their hands are folded. They look like people in old paintings. They look like they are dreaming something very gentle. I hope they are. I genuinely hope. In whatever way dreaming works when your body temperature has been lowered this far, and your brain activity is this slow, that they are somewhere warm and quiet and peaceful inside their own heads. They deserve that. We all came so far. I finished the checks, and everything was fine. Everything is always fine. The ship is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is a machine of extraordinary patience. This ship, built for a journey so long that the people who designed it had to think in generations rather than years, and it is doing its job with a kind of quiet, absolute reliability that I find deeply comforting. I ate again. I drank coffee, real coffee from the provisions, and I sat at the small table in the crew quarters and drank it slowly and did not think about anything in particular. And then I picked up my recording device and I walked to the observation room and I sat down in front of the window and I started talking. What I saw first was the comment. I want to try to do this justice, and I already know that I cannot, but I am going to try anyway, because someone needs to. It came from the left side of the window, crossing slowly from one edge of the glass to the other, over the course of maybe 20 minutes or so. I almost missed it. I was looking at the general field of stars, that dense, overwhelming scatter of light that fills every corner of the window and never stops being incredible no matter how long you look at it. And then something in the far left edge of my vision moved. And when something moves in a field that does not move, you notice it. Your eyes go to it before your brain has even decided to look. And there it was. The comet was bright, brighter than I expected, brighter than anything I have a reference point for from my life on Earth, where the sky is always slightly washed out by the glow of cities and the scattering of atmosphere. Out here there is no atmosphere between me and it. No city glow, no light pollution of any kind. Just the clean, unfiltered dark, and in it this comet, this ancient, traveling piece of ice and rock and dust that has been moving through this void for longer than human beings have existed, burning as it went. The head of it was almost white, so bright that looking directly at it made my eyes water a little. A dense and intensely lit point that trailed behind it a tail that went on for what must have been hundreds of thousands of miles, though from where I was sitting it looked like a long, curved stroke of light drawn by a very careful hand. The tail was blue, not a cold blue, not the hard blue of something mechanical, a warm, living, almost electric blue, that kind of blue that feels like it has a sound to it, a high, clear, sustained note, the kind of color that you want to hold in your hands. It moved across the window slowly, carrying its blue tail behind it with that particular, unhurried grace that belongs to things that have been moving for billions of years and are in absolutely no rush. I watched it from the first moment. I caught it to the last moment it passed out of the right edge of the window, and I did not look away once. I want to tell you what I felt watching it, because that matters too. I felt very small, not in a frightening way, in the way that a person feels small when they are standing in a very large cathedral, or at the edge of a mountain range, or on a beach at night, looking at the water. That kind of smallness that is actually a relief, because it means the world is much bigger than your problems, much bigger than your tiredness, much bigger than the specific weight of the specific day you have been carrying. I felt that. I felt it very clearly, and underneath the smallness, I felt something that took me a moment to name, and when I named it, the word that came was grateful. I felt grateful. This comet has been traveling this road for longer than I can comprehend, passing through this exact piece of space at this exact time. And the only reason I got to see it is because I was sitting in this specific room on this specific ship at this specific hour, awake when everyone else was asleep, watching when no one else was watching. The timing of it, the absolute, precise, unrepeatable coincidence of it, made me feel chosen. I know that sounds like too big a word for a rock and some ice, but it is the right word. It felt like the universe walked past and glanced through my window and said, "You are awake. Good. Watch this." I watched it until it was gone. And when it was gone, I sat there for a while longer, looking at the space where it had been, which was now just ordinary space again, just the regular extraordinary field of stars. And I thought about how, in 30 years, when the rest of the ship wakes up, they will have no way of knowing that this happened. They will wake up and go about their days and live their lives on the new world, and none of them will know that a comet crossed our path in the 21st year of the journey, and it had a blue tail, and it was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. And that thought made me want to record this. That thought is why I am talking into this device right now, instead of just sitting in silence. Because some things deserve to be told. Some things deserve a voice. The comet was only the beginning of tonight. That is the thing I want you to understand. The thing I am still trying to fully take in myself. That was only the first thing. About 2 hours after the comet passed, while I was still sitting at the window, because I was not going to move from that spot for anything, I noticed something else at the far edge of the star field. I had been looking at it for a while without really processing what I was seeing. The way sometimes your eyes settle on a thing and catalog it as background before your brain decides it is worth paying closer attention to. It was a star, or rather, it was what a star looks like when it is very, very old and nearing the end of what it has to give. A red giant. That is the technical name for what it was. But sitting here looking at it, the word that came to me was not a technical word. The word that came was dying. It was large, even at this distance. Even across the incomprehensible gulf of space between me and it. It was visibly large in a way that most stars are not. Most stars from this distance look like points of light, pinpricks in the dark, each one technically an enormous burning mass of gas, but appearing from here is nothing more than a sharp bright dot. This star did not look like a dot. It had dimension. It had what I can only describe as presence. It glowed red, a deep, heavy, slow red, the kind of red that belongs to embers rather than flames, the kind of red that speaks of something immense and long-lasting that is finally, after an unimaginable amount of time, beginning to wind down, and it pulsed. That is the part that stopped my breath for a moment when I first noticed it. It pulsed, slowly, almost like a heartbeat. The light from it intensified, and then softened, and then intensified again, with a rhythm so slow and steady that you had to watch it for several minutes before you were certain you were seeing it. But you were seeing it. Once you noticed it, you could not unnotice it. There it was, this ancient star, billions of years old, pulsing slowly in the dark, like a heartbeat, like the last heartbeat of something unimaginably large that has been burning all its life and is now, finally, slowly, letting itself rest. I sat there and I watched it pulse. I do not know how long I watched. Time moves differently in this room, at this window, in this dark. It moves the way it moves when you are very young, and it is a Sunday afternoon, and you are lying on your back in the grass, doing absolutely nothing at all. Time that stretches and softens and loses its edges because there is nothing pulling at it. I watched the star pulse, and I thought about the fact that this dying star is older than our sun, older than our entire solar system. It has been burning since before our Earth existed, before there were oceans or mountains, or any living thing that could look up and see it. And it is still here, still going, still pulsing out its last slow light into the dark. And I am here to see it, this one small person in this one small observation room, on this one small ship. And the star does not know. I am watching and does not care. And yet somehow that makes it more beautiful, not less. I cried. I want to say that plainly, because I think it is important to say, and I am not embarrassed by it. I sat at that window and watched that dying star pulse, and I cried. not from sadness. I want to be very clear about that. Not from anything painful or heavy or difficult. The tears just came, the way they sometimes do when something is so beautiful that your body does not know any other way to respond. The way they come when you hear a piece of music that hits something so deep inside you that your eyes fill before you have even made a decision about how you feel. That is the kind of crying it was. The body just deciding that it needed to release something in the face of something this large, and this quiet, and this beautiful, and I let it. There was no one to see it. There was nothing to be self-conscious about, just me, and the red star pulsing in the dark, and the warm hum of the ship around me, and the tears moving quietly down my face in a room with no other witnesses. It felt right. It felt like exactly the right response. I thought about how much I wished I could wake someone up. That was the ache in the middle of all that beauty, the one quiet ache that sat alongside everything else. I wanted to tap someone on the shoulder and say, look at this. Do you see it? That star, the red one pulsing on the right side. Do you see how it breathes? But there was no one. The corridors behind me were perfectly quiet, and perfectly empty, and perfectly still. All 412 of my fellow travelers sealed in their chambers, and breathing their slow, measured, preserved breaths. So I just sat there and watched for both of us, for all of us. I watched the star pulse, and I tried to memorize every detail of it, the exact shade of its red, the exact timing of its pulse, the way it sat in the field of stars around it like a warm coal dropped into a pile of diamonds. I tried to hold all of it. I tried to be enough of a witness for 412 sleeping people. And then the clouds came. That is not quite the right word for them, clouds. But it is the closest word I have for what I was looking at. What they actually are. These clouds are enormous regions of gas and dust floating in space, lit from within by the stars being born inside them, glowing with colors that have no business being as beautiful as they are. Colors that seem too vivid, and too varied, and too specifically, deliberately gorgeous to belong to something that formed by accident over millions of years, without any intention behind it. I have read about these formations. I have seen photographs. But photographs, I now understand, are to the actual thing what a postcard of the ocean is to standing at the edge of the water on a clear day and feeling the spray on your face. They tell you the shape of the thing. They do not tell you the presence of it. The clouds that drifted into the edge of my window were purple and gold and pink. I want to say that again because I want you to actually see it. Purple, gold, pink, enormous, slow-moving, completely silent clouds of gas and light, lit from inside by the young stars burning at their cores, glowing in colors that felt almost too warm and soft for something so vast. The purple was deep and rich, the kind of purple that belongs to the time just after sunset, when the sky is still holding some of the day's color before it gives into full dark. The gold was like firelight, like warm lamp light spreading through fog, and the pink was soft, genuinely soft, the soft pink of something delicate and new, which makes a kind of sense, because these clouds are where stars are born. They are the nurseries of the universe, the place where the raw material of stars comes together slowly over millions of years, pulled by gravity, pressed together, heated until the pressure reaches the point where ignition happens and a new star begins. So, yes, the pink makes sense. It is the color of new things, of things just beginning, of life before it fully knows what it is. The ship moved through the outer edge of this cloud slowly. My window was filled with it for what felt like hours. The colors shifted and changed as we moved through different densities of the gas, lighter here, richer there. A region near the center where the gold was so intense it made the inside of the observation room glow warm, the metal walls picking up the color and reflecting it back. So for a while I was sitting inside a warm golden light that had traveled from a cosmic cloud and come through my window and found me, just me, sitting here in the quiet, landed on my skin. I held out my hand. I watched the golden light from a cloud millions of miles wide rest on the back of my hand. I stayed very still because I did not want to break the moment. I did not want to do anything that might make it feel less real. I thought about the people sleeping in the corridors behind me, and I thought, I hope the light is reaching them too. I hope it is getting through whatever they're dreaming and sitting gently on their closed eyelids. I hope in some very quiet way they can feel it. This ancient, golden, nursery light falling soft and warm through the hull of this ship, touching us all as we pass through, whether we are awake to notice it or not. I noticed it. I was here. I saw it. After the clouds, the ship moved into a section of space that was darker than anything I had yet experienced out here. And that is saying something, because space is dark in a way that the darkness on Earth is not. On Earth, darkness is always slightly relative. There is always some light somewhere. A street light a few blocks over. The glow of a city on the horizon. The moon. The stars visible even on a cloudy night as a soft brightening behind the clouds. True darkness is hard to find on Earth, but in space the darkness is real. It is not the absence of nearby light. It is the distance of all light. Every point of brightness you can see is incredibly far away, and between you and it is just nothing. Just emptiness, just vacuum, just space being its true self, which is mostly an enormous amount of nothing. But this new dark was different, denser. I noticed it before I understood what I was looking at, the way that some part of the star field seemed to have gone out. A region of it to the lower right of my window, where the usual scatter of stars simply, quietly, was not there. A rough circle of absence. A place where the stars behind it had bent, had been pulled sideways, their light distorted and curved and redirected by something that was not giving off any light of its own. A thing that was defined not by what it was, but by what was missing because of it. I knew what I was looking at before I could name it. Something in the animal part of me knew. Some old, careful, paying attention part of me that still responds to things the way our ancestors did around fires in the dark, with a quiet, respectful alertness that was not quite fear, but was adjacent to it. I looked at it for a long time before I said the words, even just inside my own head. Black hole. I want to be careful about how I describe this, because I do not want to describe it wrong. There was no dramatic pulling, no visible sucking of nearby matter into an abyss. Nothing that looked like what the films show you. The swirling disk, the dramatic bending of light into a visible funnel. What I saw was quieter than that. and in some ways more disturbing for its quietness. Around the edges of this dark circle, the stars that should have appeared in a straight line behind it appeared in a ring instead. Their light bent around the edges of the thing by gravity so powerful that even light could not go straight in its presence. They appeared in a ring of distorted, curved brightness, like stars glimpsed through a lens, like looking at the sky as reflection in the curved surface of a spoon. Beautiful and wrong at the same time. Precisely, mathematically beautiful. Precisely, instinctively wrong. And at the center, nothing. Just the clean, perfect absence of light. A circle of genuine nothing, surrounded by a ring of bent light, floating in the middle of a field of stars. I did not cry this time. I was too quiet inside for crying. I just sat and looked at it with a kind of stillness that I do not have a better word for than reverence. The same stillness that comes over a person in a very old place, in a very old building that has seen more than you can comprehend, where the weight of all that time is present in the air, and asks something of you without words. Just asks that you be quiet. Just asks that you pay attention. I was quiet. I paid attention. I sat in the warm hum of this small ship, and I looked at the thing that bends light and swallows everything and cannot be seen directly, and is perhaps the most powerful thing in this entire region of space. And I thought about how small I am, how perfectly, exactly small, a speck on a speck on a speck of dust floating past something ancient and enormous on a slow ship made of metal and hope. And I thought, yes, this is right. This is exactly what the scale of things actually is. And it is fine. It is more than fine. It is beautiful in its own specific, particular, hard to name way. The beauty of knowing your true size. The beauty of accepting it. The beauty of sitting quietly in the face of something you cannot comprehend and not running from it. Not needing to make it smaller or more manageable. Just sitting with it, and breathing, and being exactly what you are, which is a small, awake, attentive, grateful human being. The black hole drifted out of the frame of my window slowly, taking its ring of bent light with it, and the stars behind it came back straight and clean, and the field was ordinary again, or as ordinary as a field of 10,000 visible stars can ever really be. And I sat there in the returning ordinariness of it, and I felt something settle in my chest, something that had been held tight and careful all day, all through the waking up, and the checks, and the walking through the empty corridors, and the eating alone, and the sitting at this window. Something had been held, now released, just settled, just put itself down quietly. And I breathed, and the ship hummed, and the stars did not move. And then the galaxies came. I saved the galaxies for last in this account, not because they happened last. They were there all along, all day, a background to everything else, but because they are the hardest to describe, and I wanted to build up to them slowly, because describing a galaxy is like trying to describe the sea to someone who has never left a desert. The words exist. The words are the right words. They just do not carry the weight of the actual thing. But here is what I can tell you. From this window, in this clean and unfiltered dark, the galaxies are visible in a way that they simply are not from the surface of any planet. They hang in a star field like slow, spinning things, each one made of hundreds of billions of stars, each one so far away, that the light reaching my window left those galaxies millions of years ago, long before human beings existed, long before anything that would eventually become a human being existed. The light from those galaxies has been traveling toward this window for longer than life has existed on Earth, and it arrived here tonight while I was sitting in this room, and it came through this glass and landed on my eyes. I could see the spiral structure of them. That is what gets me most. That is the thing I keep coming back to. You can see the arms, those long, curving, slowly spinning arms of star-dense material winding outward from the bright core of each galaxy, like the pattern of cream slowly stirred into a dark cup of coffee, so slow that they appear completely still, but they are not still. They are spinning, each galaxy turning on its center at a speed that is difficult to put into numbers that mean anything to a person, turning through the dark, turning and turning, full of stars and planets and dust and gas, and perhaps somewhere in their arms, full of other small ships with other small windows, and other awake, quiet, attentive people looking out and feeling exactly what I am feeling right now. I do not know if that is true, but I do not know that it is not. And tonight, in this particular frame of mind, in this particular quiet, in this particular humming room, the possibility of it feels warm and good. The possibility that somewhere in one of those spinning arms of light, there is someone looking back this way and seeing our own small galaxy spinning at the edge of their sky and feeling the same thing I am feeling right now. Small and grateful and honored and alive. I watched the galaxies for a long time. I am still watching them now. They are still there, will still be there, have been there for billions of years, and will be there for billions more, with no reference at all to whether I am watching or not, and yet I watch. And yet it matters to me, personally and completely, that I am here to see this, that I am the awake one, that I am the witness. That in 30 years, when 412 sleeping people open their eyes and blink and ask what they missed, there will be this recording. There will be this voice, my voice, telling them what the universe looked like from this window on this particular night in the 21st year of a 50-year journey, when one person was awake to see it. I want to talk to you now, directly. You who are listening to this recording late into the night, in whatever room you are in whatever quiet you have managed to find. I want to set aside the log for a moment and just talk to you, person to person, the way I would if we were sitting together. And in a sense, we are. You are awake, and I am awake, and everyone else is sleeping. Whether that everyone else is 412 people in cryo chambers on a ship in deep space, or simply the rest of your neighborhood behind their closed doors and their drawn curtains, breathing their slow, unconscious breaths in the dark. We are the awake ones tonight, you and I. And I want to tell you what I've been thinking about that. Back on Earth, before this journey, before I sat in this observation room and watched comets and dying stars and clouds of purple and gold, I used to feel like being awake at a late hour was a kind of failure, like it meant something was wrong, like the world was moving at a pace and a volume that I should have been keeping up with, and the fact that I could not sleep, the fact that the quiet of late night felt more natural to me than the busy hours of the day, meant I was somehow behind, somehow out of step. I lived in a world that rewarded noise and speed and constant output. A world where the question, how are you, was really just another way of asking, what have you done lately? Where the answer tired was treated like an embarrassing confession, and the answer busy was treated like a badge worth wearing. That world was loud. It asked a lot. It filled every silence before you had a chance to sit in it. Out here, there is none of that. Out here, the silence is not something to fill. It is the natural state of things. The universe is almost entirely silent, almost entirely still from any given point of observation. The comet crossed my window without a sound. The dying star pulsed without a sound. The clouds of gold and pink and purple drifted past without a sound. The black hole bent the light of 1,000 stars without a sound. The galaxies spin in their slow, enormous, ancient rotation without a sound. All of it, everything I have been describing to you tonight, all of it is happening in absolute, perfect, total silence. The universe does not announce itself. It does not ask for your attention. It does not compete for your time. It simply is. And if you happen to be sitting at a window in the right place, at the right time, with the patience to look, it will show you things that will change the way you understand what it means to be alive. But it will not chase you. It will not shout. It will not put itself in your face and demand that you notice. It will simply be there, doing what it has always been doing, and the seeing of it is entirely and completely up to you. That is why tonight matters. That is why you being awake right now, at this hour, in whatever quiet corner you have found matters. Because tonight you are not rushed. Tonight the world outside is sleeping and there is no one asking anything of you. And there is no noise competing for the inside of your head. Tonight it is just you and this voice, and the dark around you. And in that quiet, in that specific and private, and slightly rare quiet that only ever really comes at this hour, you can see things that the daytime hides. Not comets and nebulae, maybe, not with your physical eyes, but the quieter things, the things inside yourself that the noise usually covers, the things that are trying to tell you something that only gets through when everything else has finally gone still. You are like me tonight. That is what I want you to know. You are in your own observation room. You are the only awake one. You are sitting at your own private window into the dark, and the dark is showing you something. It is always showing you something to anyone patient enough and quiet enough to look. And tonight I am asking you to look, not to fix anything, not to solve anything, not to make any decisions or have any realizations that you have to do something about. Just look, just witness, just be the awake one tonight, the one who sat at the window and paid attention when everyone else was sleeping, the one who will be able to say in some future time, I was there, I saw it. I know what the night looked like when it was quiet. I know what it feels like to be alone with the dark and not be afraid of it. You are not required to do anything tonight except breathe and listen and let the dark be what it is, which is not frightening and not empty, but enormously, quietly full of things that only reveal themselves to the patient and the still. I am going to go back to my window now, not because I have run out of things to say. I could sit here and talk to this recorder until the next scheduled crew wake up in 30 years and still not have said everything I want to say about what I have seen tonight. But I think it is time for both of us to stop talking and start resting, because the body needs rest. The mind needs rest. Even the most willing and attentive witness needs to close their eyes eventually and let the watching give way to sleeping. Even I need that, and I think you need it too. So I want you to do something for me now. I want you to listen to the sound of this ship, even if you cannot literally hear it. I want you to imagine it. That low, steady, constant hum. The hum of the life support system doing its quiet work. The hum of the engines maintaining their patient, unhurried speed through the dark. It is not a dramatic sound. It is not a beautiful sound in any conventional sense. It is just steady, just constant, just always there, underneath everything, going on regardless of what else is happening, regardless of what is outside the window, or what time the internal clock says, or whether anyone is awake to notice it. The hum is simply there. The hum simply goes on. I want you to breathe with it, slowly, in through your nose, a long, unhurried breath, or slow counts of the hum as you fill your lungs all the way, feeling your chest expand, feeling your ribs spread slightly with it, feeling the breath go all the way to the bottom of your lungs, where it sometimes does not reach when you are tense or tired or holding something without knowing it. Hold it for just a moment at the top, just a small, gentle pause, and then let it out, slowly, easily following the hum back down, or slow counts as the breath leaves, as your chest settles, as your body releases something it has been holding all day, and then let the next breath come naturally, without pushing it, without forcing it, just letting your body do what it knows how to do. It has been doing this for your entire life. It does not need your help. It just needs you to stop interfering. Again, in, long and slow, through your nose if you can manage it. The cooler air coming in, your chest expanding, your belly softening. Hold a moment of fullness, and then out, long and slow, the breath leaving you, the tension in your shoulders going with it. Just a little, just one small layer of whatever you have been carrying. And then the next one, natural, easy, the hum of the ship carrying you, the dark of the room holding you, your bed or your chair or wherever you are. It knows your shape by now. It has held you this way before, and it is good at it. Let it hold you. Your eyes are heavy. That is not a problem. That is exactly right. That is the weight of a day fully lived settling over you, the way a warm blanket settles when someone lays it over you while you are already almost asleep. Let them be heavy. Let them close. You do not need to see anything right now. You do not need to watch anything. The universe out there is doing its beautiful, silent, unhurried work whether your eyes are open or not. The stars are there whether you can see them or not. The galaxies are spinning whether you are watching or not. It does not need you to stay awake for it. It has been going on for billions of years. It will go on for billions more. And tonight, you have done your part. You are the awake one. You were the witness. You were the person sitting at the window in the quiet hours, paying attention when the rest of the world was asleep. And that is enough. That is more than enough. I am going back to my window now. I am going to sit in front of that wide curved glass, and I am going to look at the stars for a while longer before I let myself sleep. I am going to watch the galaxies spin their slow, enormous, ancient spin in the dark. I am going to let the hum of the ship be the only sound in my world. I going to breathe slowly in and out and feel the particular, specific piece of being a small thing in an enormous universe that is putting on a private show just for the people who stay awake long enough to see it. And I am going to think about you, wherever you are, in your own quiet room, in your own private dark, breathing your own slow breath, your own eyes growing heavy, your own body finally, fully, all the way ready to let the night do what the night is meant to do. The stars are not rushing. They never rush. They just burn, slowly and steadily and patiently, each one in its own time, putting their light out into the dark without hurry and without demand, trusting the light will travel and eventually, after millions of years, reach a window somewhere and come through the glass and land on the eyes of someone sitting very still in a warm room in a late hour, paying attention. That light waited millions of years to reach me. It was patient. It did not rush, and neither should you. There is nothing that needs to happen right now except this breathing, this settling, this slow and natural drift towards sleep that your body has been leading you toward all day, and that you can finally, fully let happen. Sleep now. Let the hum of the ship carry you. Let the dark be the warm, full, safe dark that it is at this hour in this place. Let the galaxies spin without you for a while. They will be there when you wake up. They have been there for billions of years, and they will not go anywhere in the night, and neither will I. I will be here at my window, watching the stars, recording the quiet, being the awake one, so that you do not have to be, so that you can close your eyes and rest, and let someone else hold the watch for a while. Let me hold it. I am good at it. I have nothing but time and a wide window and a sky full of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. I will watch for both of us. I will be here when you need me. Sleep now, deeply, peacefully, in the warm hum of this ship that is taking us all somewhere new, all of us together, the awake and the sleeping both, moving through the dark at a patient and unhurried speed towards something we cannot yet see, but are moving toward nonetheless. We are all on this ship, all of us, and tonight it is carrying us gently. The stars are soft, the dark is warm, the hum is steady, and you are safe. I'm your friend, Arthur, and I will see you next time. Good night.